Without my knowledge, my wife went on a date. When she returned, she found herself locked out. Yesterday at work, my wife, Ava, casually revealed something that completely shattered my reality. She told me she was going on a date. Yes, a date with one of her coworkers. My name is Nathan. I'm 32, and Ava, who's 33, I have been married for nearly 7 years. Up until recently, our marriage seemed steady. We lived a quiet, child-free life by choice, something we both agreed suited us. So I believe. A few months ago, though, Ava began to change. She started expressing dissatisfaction with her life, saying she felt stuck and caught in a monotonous routine. At one point, she even suggested that having a child might add excitement and purpose. Although we had long agreed that children weren't part of our plans, I told her I was willing to reconsider. But after a couple of discussions, she dismissed the idea entirely, calling it a passing thought. I assumed it was just a phase or a fleeting moment of anxiety, never imagining it was a sign of something deeper. Then came yesterday, and Ava dropped bombshell. I'm going on a date tonight, he said with an air of nonchalance. At first, I thought she was joking. I laughed nervously, waiting for her to laugh too. But her expression remained serious. Her lips were pressed firmly, her eyes unwavering. She wasn't kidding. What do you mean, a date? I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief and confusion. She explained in a disturbingly casual manner, saying it was with Eric, one of her colleagues. She claimed it was just a way to bring some excitement into her life. The word excitement felt like a dagger. My mind spun as I tried to grasp what she was saying. Ava remained calm, almost indifferent, as though this was a normal conversation. She went on to describe how Eric also felt stuck and how they had bonded over shared frustrations. She insisted it was harmless, just a simple dinner between two adults. When I asked why she even referred to it as a date, her response was chilling. Transparency, she said, as though being honest about her trail somehow made it less painful. I felt physically ill. My thoughts raced, trying desperately to make sense of it all. Before I could respond, Ava kissed my forehead lightly and walked off to get ready. I was frozen on the couch, overwhelmed by a mix of anger, heartbreak, and helplessness. I watched as she prepared, slipping into her favorite red dress, one she used to wear for special occasions. My chest tightened as I realized this time it wasn't for me, but for someone else. She smiled faintly at her reflection in the mirror, oblivious to my devastation. Seeking clarity, I called my best friend, Kevin. Too embarrassed to share the truth, framed it as an issue a friend was dealing with. Kevin suggested it might just be an innocent outing, but deep down, I knew better. This wasn't innocent. This was betrayal. Ava returned home earlier than expected that night, around 9:30 p.m. She seemed both happy and distant, her lipstick slightly smudged, her eyes restless. Hugging me, she whispered, "So thrilling, Nathan. Exactly what I needed." Her words felt like another knife to my heart. Then came the second blow. She casually mentioned that she and Eric were already planning a weekend trip together. I couldn't process what was happening. I stood there, numb, while Ava appeared completely unaware of the destruction she was causing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch replaying everything in my mind. The realization hit me hard. Our marriage was over. There was no coming back from this. But if Ava thought she could treat me like this and walk away unscathed, she was mistaken. I had been loyal for 7 years, and this was how she repaid me. The more I thought about it, the more determined I became to make her regret everything. The next day, while Ava busied herself packing for her weekend getaway, I quietly set my plan into motion. I didn't beg her to stay, nor did I yell or argue. Instead, I prepared to let her face the cold reality of her choices. By Saturday afternoon, I had changed the locks. The key no longer worked. I packed all her belongings into trash bags and left them in the garage. That evening, I watched silently as Ava packed her suitcase, humming cheerfully to herself. She was brimming with excitement, eager for her trip with Eric. I discreetly recorded her on my phone as she spoke, capturing her careless boasting about how free and alive she felt. I knew this evidence would be vital to the divorce and to ensure she couldn't rewrite the narrative later. On Saturday morning, Eric's sleek black car pulled into our driveway. Ava, dressed in yet another tight red dress, blew me a kiss before climbing into the car. I didn't react. I simply watched them drive away, knowing this was the final chapter of our marriage. When Ava returned on Sunday evening, she found herself locked out. The key didn't work, and she began pounding on the door, calling my name. I sat inside, watching her on the security camera. She looked frantic, desperate. When I finally opened a door, her tear-streaked face met mine. "What the hell, Nathan?" she cried, trying to push past me. I stood firm. "You wanted excitement, Ava? Here it is. Your life as you knew it's over." She begged, tears streaming down her face, apologizing and blaming Eric for pressuring her. But I didn't care. She made her choice. Now she would have to live with the consequences. I handed her the recording I'd made, her voice so confident as she bragged about her weekend plans. Her face went pale as the realization hit. She was caught. "You destroyed us, Ava," I said coldly. "Now you can figure out life on your own." I pointed to the trash bags in the garage. "Take them and go." She pleaded with me to reconsider. I slammed the door in her face. She sat in the driveway for hours, crying. But I didn't budge. The divorce papers were already in motion, and there was no turning back. In the weeks that followed, it felt like I was living in the aftermath of a hurricane. The house was quieter than ever, but at least it was mine. Ava had wanted excitement. Now she could have it without me. Filing for divorce gave me a strange sense of relief. I instructed my lawyer to send the papers to her parents' house, the only stable place left for her to stay. Ava had been temporarily living with her childhood friend Julia, who likely didn't know the full extent of Ava's betrayal. But Ava didn't accept reality quietly. She bombarded me with text calls and voicemails. Each message grew more desperate, filled with emotional peace. Her mother even called once, crying and begging me to give Ava another chance. There was no chance. Damage was done. Every time her name flashed on my phone, it felt like acid on a wound. Memories of her carefree laughter as she packed for her weekend getaway with Eric, dismissiveness when I begged her not to go, belief that our marriage was unbreakable. Those moments only solidified my resolve. Ava had betrayed me, everything we had built together. There was no repairing that. It didn't surprise me when she made her next move, a move I'd anticipated. One Wednesday afternoon, while reviewing reports in my office, I heard raised voices outside my door. My secretary was speaking, but I could hear Ava's frantic tone cutting through. Please, just let me talk to him. I stepped outside and saw her there, touching the divorce papers. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen from crying. Confident, carefree woman I once knew was gone, placed by desperation. Colleagues glanced awkwardly at the scene as I led her to a private room. What do you want, Ava? I asked coldly, crossing my arms. Her hands trembled as she held up the papers. I can't sign these, Nathan. I can't do this. I love you. Please, let's talk. We can fix this, she begged, her voice cracking. The woman before me was a shadow of herself. Gone was the arrogance, thrill-seeking spirit that had brought her here. All that remained was regret, but I couldn't let myself pity her. Not now. There's nothing to discuss, I said firmly. You made your choices, Ava. Now live with him. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her voice trembled. It was a mistake, Nathan. I thought it would be exciting, but it was a nightmare. I was stupid. I love you. You're the only person I've ever wanted. Her words made my fists clench. You thought you could play with fire and come back like nothing happened? You expect me to just forget. She reached for my hand, and I stepped back. I've given you my answer, I said, walking out of the room. I heard her sobs behind me. Didn't stop. It was the only way to protect myself from further pain. For a while, Ava stopped contacting me. I heard through a mutual friend that she had started therapy, perhaps her first real step toward change. But I wasn't ready to move on. I needed closure. That's when I decided to send her one final message. I compiled everything. Details of her affair with Eric, moments she downplayed, betrayal. It wasn't just for court evidence. It was for her to see the damage from my perspective. I included a note. This is why I can never come back. This is why it's over. I had the package sent to her parents' house. Next morning, Ava called, leaving a voicemail. Her voice was heavy, filled with guilt and sorrow. I got your package, she began, her words broken by shaky breaths. I understand now, Nathan. I know what I did to you. I know how much I hurt you. I can never undo that. I wanted excitement, but all I did was destroy the most important thing in my life. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that I finally understand. For the first time, she didn't make excuses. She didn't try to justify anything. She acknowledged the damage, and that gave me the closure I needed. Divorce was finalized a few weeks later, quietly. No fights, no theatrics. Ava signed the papers without resistance and moved back with her parents. The house was mine now, her name erased from every part of it. At first, emptiness felt strange, but over time, silence became peaceful. For the first time in years, I wasn't coming home to pain. I focused on myself again, going to the gym, rediscovering hiking, and picking up painting, a hobby I'd abandoned long ago. My best friend Kevin was a constant source of support, encouraging me to keep moving forward. Ava made one final attempt, sending me a heartfelt letter apologizing and explaining how she was rebuilding her life. I didn't respond. It was enough to know she understood the magnitude of her betrayal. Months passed, and I began to heal. I wasn't the broken man I once was. I had grown stronger and wiser. One day, during a hike with Kevin, I met a group of people. Among them was Emily, warm, easygoing, a smile that made me feel lighter. She joined us, and for the first time in years, I felt myself smiling again. We started talking, and soon I asked her out for coffee. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was real. Emily reminded me of what love should be: steady, respectful, and kind. Whether Emily becomes my happily ever after remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: no matter how deep the darkness, there's always a way back to the light.